tindakan bagaimana kerajaan boleh menambah baik cadangan-cadangan mereka itu. Mestilah kerajaan pun akan jadi defensif kan. Oh, saya buat dah terbaik dah. Tapi sebagai rakyat mereka akan menilai apa yang dibentangkan oleh ahli dewan itu nanti, apakah yang mereka mahu cadangkan penambahbaikan. Contoh nak bagi bantuan kepada rakyat ke macam mana ke. So, kita rakyat ni mengharapkan supaya ahli parlimen tu betul-betul fokus. Tidak ada lagi huha-huha lah. Saya cakap ikhlas sebab kadang-kadang saya jumpa ramai rakyat pun akan menyatakan mereka kadang-kadang tidak puas hati perbincangan, perbahasan dalam dewan tu kerana seolah-olah dia dipengaruhi oleh sentimen kepartian politik yang lebih-lebih. Ya. Jadi kita mahukan perbahasan yang sangat serius tentang ini. Sebab inilah antara persidangan ini, saya fikir ini adalah antara yang amat penting untuk negara kita. Okey, sebab itulah peraturan 15.1 itu berceritakan mendahulukan urusan kerajaan untuk kita melihat mengenepikan dahulu mungkin kepentingan-kepentingan yang lain dan kita dahulukan untuk urusan kepentingan kerajaan. Satu perkongsian yang konklusif. Terima kasih yang berbahagia Prof. Datuk. Terima kasih yang berhormat Datuk Seri. InsyaAllah kita akan nantikan dahulu mungkin kepentingan-kepentingan yang lain dan kita dahulukan untuk urusan kepentingan kerajaan. Satu perkongsian yang konklusif. Terima kasih yang berbahagia Prof. Datuk. Terima kasih yang berhormat Datuk Seri. InsyaAllah kita akan nantikan bagaimanakah yang akan terjadi dan juga apa yang kita dapat saksikan dalam mesyuarat khas pada minggu depan bermula tarikh 26 Julai 2021 dan usaha kita mendepani pandemik COVID-19 penguasaan ordinan darurat kuasa-kuasa perlu di bawah Perlembagaan Persekutuan dan berdepan dengan krisis kesihatan dan juga krisis pandemik COVID-19 yang
لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك لك لبيك إن الحمد والنعمة لك والملك لا شريك لك لبيك اللهم لبيك لبيك لا شريك
18 and above in KL, Selangor, Putrajaya yet to receive appointments can walk in. COVID cases in Malaysia breach 15,000 mark. Good evening, I'm Carlos, and welcome to for vaccination starting from 1st August. National COVID-19 Immunization Program PICK Coordinating Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the list of vaccination centres or PPVs involved will be announced soon.
Selepas operasi lonjakan kapasiti ataupun Operation Surge Capacity tamat pada 1 bulan Ogos, penduduk dewasa berumur 18 tahun ke atas yang belum menerima janji temu akan dibenarkan untuk mendapatkan vaksinasi mereka secara walk-in dan kita akan umumkan yang akan dibuka untuk kemudahan walk-in di Kuala Lumpur dan juga Selangor tidak lama lagi nanti.
Speaking during the weekly press meeting with Health Minister Dato Sri Dr. Adnan Baba in Putrajaya, Khairi said 71.9% of the adult with Health Minister Dato Sri Dr. Adnan Baba in Putrajaya, Khairi said 71.9% of the adult population in the Klang Valley have received their first dose of the COVID-19 doses daily for residents in the Klang Valley since 21st July until 1st August. Through this injection rate, Khairi said the overall target is to give at least one dose to all adults in the Klang Valley before the end of this month. Meanwhile, commenting on the issue of empty syringe that went viral recently, Khairi said there are 13 police reports made on the matter. Well, he said the nurse who admitted giving empty syringe vaccine jab has been warned and now facing disciplinary process. The PICK coordinating minister stressed, however, that there were no links between complaints of empty syringes used for vaccination and the black market sale of vaccines.
13 kes yang telah pun dibuat laporan polis. Ada beberapa kes yang telah selesai disebabkan salah faham dan telah pun dipadamkan daripada media sosial pengadu. Ada kes di mana pengadu telah membuat laporan polis kerana tangan mereka tidak lemah, kerana tidak ada kesan sampingan daripada vaksin. Saya ingin nyatakan bahawa kesan sampingan daripada vaksin ini berbeza dari satu orang kepada orang yang lain. Sebagai contoh, saya tidak dapat apa-apa kesan sampingan daripada vaksinasi saya.
Khairi also added that vaccine recipients are now allowed to record injection process while nurses must show them the syringe before administering the shots to avoid the same incident from happening again. Khairi also thanked the frontline healthcare workers for their sacrifices at the PPVs and assured them that they have his support. On the illegal vaccine sale, the minister said the police were still investigating the matter. In a related development, Khairi revealed that he explained that the COVID-19 Vaccine Supply Access Guarantee Special Committee, JKJAV, will decide on guidelines for private sale of vaccine, including sealing sold for a price that is too high. For this purpose, he said pharmaceutical company Pharma Niaga Berhad will be allowed to sell the Sinovac vaccine to the private sector starting in August. Sold for a price that is too high. For this purpose, he said pharmaceutical company Pharma Niaga Berhad will be allowed to sell the Sinovac vaccine to the private sector.
Okay, so that we can get to our target much quicker.
The Health Ministry, through the Medical Devices Authority, or MDA, has given conditional approval to 3 types of COVID-19 self-test kits for sale and use in the country. Health Minister Dato Sri Dr. Adnan Baba said any COVID-19 self-test kit result, whether positive, negative or invalid, must be reported to the Ministry of Health, the MOH, through the My Sejahtera application.
Semua keputusan ujian kit ujian kendiri COVID-19 sama ada positif, negatif atau invalid perlu dilaporkan secara kendiri ke dalam aplikasi My Sejahtera ya. Pihak Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia juga menyeru agar semua pengguna mempunyai rasa tanggungjawab untuk melaporkan keputusan sebenar atau tidak melakukan pemalsuan keputusan bagi mencegah implikasi jangkitan kepada orang lain.
Elaborating further, he said if the self-test kit result is positive, the user must go to a private health facility, COVID-19 assessment center or CAC, or any health clinic for health assessment purposes before their health status is uploaded to the MySejahtera application. If the result is negative but the person has symptoms, then the kit user is also advised to report to a private clinic or health clinic for a similar assessment. Valid result, the user is required to repeat the test. For the record, the kits are Salixium Antigen Rapid Test Kit, G-Mate AG Saliva Kit, and B-Ride COVID-19 Antigen Rapid Test Device for Oral Fluid Kit. Daily new COVID-19 cases in Malaysia breached the 15,000 mark today when 15,573 cases were yesterday. Well, it is the highest number recorded since the pandemic hit the country early last year. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Noor Hisham Abdullah said Selangor remained the state with the highest number of new infections, recording 7,672 cases, followed by Kuala Lumpur with 2,063. There were also 144 fatalities, bringing the death toll to 7,718.
Kes sembuh ialah 10,094 kes dan jumlah kes kumulatif kes sembuh ialah 825,387 kes, iaitu bersamaan dengan 84.8%.
On another note, there are still 939 patients in intensive care units with 456 requiring ventilator support. 30 new clusters were also reported. Government agrees to offer a 2-year contract to doctors. The government has agreed for medical, dental and pharmacy officers with contract appointments to be offered a 2-year contract of service upon completion of their compulsory service period. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin in a statement today said the move was to ensure continuity of service and also as a preparation for the young doctors to pursue specialist training. Well, he said this was also among the immediate solutions approved by the government after the proposal relating to the improvement of contract status for medical, dental and pharmacy officers was tabled by the Ministry of Health at the Cabinet meeting on 14 July. He also said the government fully understands the demands of this group of contract health workers and is also aware that their contribution and role as the frontliners is crucial in providing the best health services to the people, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. The Premier said the Cabinet also agreed to extend the contract of service to a maximum of 4 years for medical and dental officers accepted to pursue specialist training during their first 2-year contract. The Premier said it was to ensure that the officers would be able to complete their specialist training. The decision would also give the opportunity to the government to finalize the ongoing study on the reforms of the country's healthcare system, review the existing provisions in the Medical Act 1971, and formulate the long-term roadmap for medical services. On another note, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said a total of 46.7% of the adult population in Malaysia has received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccine, while 21.8% have completed both doses. And he said the progress of the vaccination process was in line with the target set by the government, but need to be intensified so that the target to fully vaccinate 26 million people in the country could be achieved. Well, in a Facebook posting today, Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the National COVID-19 Immunization Program, PICK, had succeeded in recording a daily vaccination rate of over 400,000 doses since 12 July, and the rate has reached its highest yesterday at 507,050 doses. To 5,104,054 yesterday. The Premier also said that the burden of cases in hospitals and the number of severe infection cases could be reduced through vaccination, which will also smoothen the effort to ensure the success of the National Recovery Plan. In the post, Tan Sri Muhyiddin also thanked and congratulated all Malaysians for their support for PICK, especially the frontliners and volunteers at all vaccination centres. The Malaysian economy is anticipated to face challenges in preserving the recovery momentum. Chief Statistician Dato' Sri Dr. Muhammad Uzair Mahidin said this as the leading index, or LI, eased to 6.9% in May 2021, year-on-year, after rising 15.7% in April. Well, Dato' Sri Muhammad Uzair explained that the growth was driven by real imports of other basic precious and other non-ferrous metals and the number of housing units approved. At the same time, he said the LI declined by 2.9% month-on-month, with real imports of other basic precious and other non-ferrous metals, particularly platinum, was among the components that underpinned the decrease of LI. He said the emergence of a new lethal variant of the COVID-19 has triggered pessimistic sentiment at global and national frontiers, adding that prolonged movement restrictions in safeguarding lives may affect the prospects of recovery. Meanwhile, Dato' Sri Muhammad Uzair said the Consumer Price Index, or CPI, rose by 3.4% year-on-year to 123.2 in June versus 191 in June last year. In a statement today, the chief statistician said CPI remained positive for the fifth consecutive month since February this year due to the lower base effect last year as a result of the decline in fuel prices for private vehicles. He said the transport group was the main contributor to the increase in the headline inflation at 16.6%, followed by housing, water, electricity, gas and other fuels, furnishings, household equipment and routines, and food and non-alcoholic beverages. Dato' Sri Muhammad Uzair said the CPI without fuel increased 1.5% in June 2021 to 113.9 compared with 112.2 in the same month of the preceding year, which covers all goods and services except unleaded petrol, RON 97 and diesel. He said 7 states, namely Terengganu, Kelantan, Pahang, Perak, Selangor, Putra, Kedah and Perlis, surpassed the national CPI rate of 3.4% in June 2021 versus the same month in 2020. Well, the public has been advised to not be deceived by cheap sale gimmicks on the internet, as most of the products on sale are from unregistered websites or applications. Well, according to the Malaysian Communications and Multimedia Commission, the MCMC, the products advertised are also not subject to the laws in the country, and some found to resemble branded products. Elaborating further on the matter, MCMC said consumers will have problems in seeking their rights from the platform concerned if the quality of products purchased through the cheap sales gimmick fails their expectations. As such, MCMC said the public should evaluate the sale and promotion made on e-commerce platforms wisely before making their transactions. The public is also advised to always be cautious with online promotions and the platform used for the purpose, as well as to examine the terms of service and policies related to refunds and compensation set by the e-commerce platform provider to protect themselves from being exposed to unwanted risks. A single mother attempting to murder her 21-month-old daughter. Sharifah Nurain Muhammad Zali, 32, however, pleaded not guilty to the charge before Judge Elizabeth Payawan. Well, the woman who is unemployed was charged with attempting to murder her daughter, who is 1 year and 9 months old, by throwing the girl and fined if found guilty. The woman was also charged under Section 31, subsection 1, subsection A of the Child Act with M at the same place and date to which she pleaded guilty. The offence provides a maximum fine of 20,000 ringgit or imprisonment for up to 10 years or both upon conviction. The woman was allowed bail of 12,000 ringgit on both charges, and the court set 26 August for case management and sentencing of the respective cases. Well, a charred body of a man was found in a fire involving 3 houses in Taman Puncak Kampar in Kampar, Perak late yesterday. And a State Fire and Rescue Department JBPM spokesman in a statement identified the deceased as Ahmad Buser Ghazali in his 50s. Well, the spokesman said the victim's wife, Ngah Dima Tamin, in her 60s, suffered breathing problems due to smoke inhalation and was sent to her hospital for treatment. He said a team from the Kampar Fire and Rescue Station, BBP, assisted by the Tapa BBP, rushed to the location after the department received a distress call at 11:58 p.m. yesterday. The fire, which involved 3 houses, caused 90% damage to the first house, 80% damage to the second house, and 40% damage to the third house. The spokesman added that the fire was completely doused at 3:33 a.m. Still ahead, Philippines to impose travel ban on Malaysia, Thailand to prevent Delta variant. In our foreign news, the Philippines will ban inbound travelers from Malaysia and Thailand from 25th to the 31st July to prevent the spread of the highly infectious coronavirus Delta variant. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque on Friday said travelers coming directly from the 2 Southeast Asian countries or with a history of travel to any of the 2 countries within the last 14 days would be barred from entering. Well, Roque, in a release statement, said that the action is undertaken to prevent the further spread and community transmission of COVID-19 variants in the Philippines. Malaysia and Thailand are experiencing a surge believed to be driven by the Delta variant cases. Roque said that returning overseas Filipino workers under the government repatriation program are exempted from the ban but will be isolated for 14 days upon arrival. The inclusion of Malaysia and Thailand brings to 10 the list of countries banned by the Philippines. The Philippines will ban inbound travelers from Pakistan, Nepal, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Oman and the United Arab Emirates are not allowed to enter the country until 31st July. The Philippines has detected 47 Delta cases in the country so far. Aside from the Delta variant, the Philippines has also detected 3 other coronavirus variants of concern. New Zealand will suspend its quarantine-free travel bubble with Australia for 2 months as the country grapples with a number of serious outbreaks of COVID-19. Well, travel with the states of New South Wales, Victoria and South Australia had already been pushed, but will now expand to the entire country. At a press briefing on Friday, Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern said because of the Delta variant, there was greater risk now than when the travel bubble was opened.
COVID has changed, and so we must. It's on that basis that the Director General of Health has recommended and Cabinet has agreed to suspend quarantine-free travel with Australia. From 11:59 p.m. tonight, Australians will no longer be able to enter New Zealand quarantine-free. This will be in place for at least the next 8 weeks.
Well, Ardern said the government remains committed to the travel bubble and hoped it would reopen at some stage. The New Zealand government held an urgent cabinet meeting on Thursday to discuss the decision. On Friday, New South Wales reported a record-breaking 136 new infections. And on Thursday, Premier Gladys Berejiklian warned that COVID case numbers will continue to rise in Sydney. Opening ceremony for pandemic postponed Tokyo Olympics begins.
So here we go. Unbelievable!
These are the moments that just make your heart feel like it's going to explode.
And the United States will win gold. St. Louis desperately trying to hold on and guts. Manuel is going to do it. Allison Felix now starting to pull away. Their 6th straight Olympic gold. Noah Lyles, world champion. Here he comes. This has been her destiny all along.
Well, the opening ceremony of the Tokyo Olympics began on Friday in a nearly empty stadium after a year-long pandemic postponement and a build-up marred by scandal and controversy. Now, the ceremony in the 68,000 capacity stadium took place before just a few hundred officials and dignitaries, including Japan's Emperor Naruhito, French President Emmanuel Macron, and U.S. First Lady Jill Biden. While the Olympics have faced opposition in Japan over fears that global gatherings of 11,000 athletes could trigger a super spreader event. Fewer than 1,000 dignitaries and officials are present at the stadium, and in a sign of how divisive the games remain, several top sponsors, including Toyota and Panasonic, are not attending. Organizers have put strict virus measures in place, banning overseas fans for the first time ever and keeping domestic spectators out of all but a handful of venues. Athletes, support staff and media are subject to strict COVID-19 protocols, including regular testing and daily health checks. Polls have consistently found a majority of Japanese are against the games, with opinion ranging from wary indifference to outright hostility. Well, earlier Friday, about 50 protesters against the Olympic Games being held gathered outside the Tokyo Metropolitan Government building ahead of the opening ceremony. And protesters chanted, "No to the Olympics" and "Save people's lives," and held up signs reading, "Cancel the Olympics." Now, the Games, largely without spectators and opposed by much of the host nation, are going ahead as the International Olympic Committee and the Japanese government have been able to surmount strong opposition. The opening ceremony of the pandemic-delayed Games was held without spectators as a measure to prevent the spread of coronavirus infections, although some officials, guests and media will attend. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's government faces criticism for prioritizing the Olympics despite public health concerns amid a resurgence of coronavirus infections. Tokyo recorded 1,000